welcome. Stu Myrick here, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. The Horn, 104.9 AM, 1260, 101.9 FM, hornfm.com, the Horn Austin app. However you listen to the Horn, however you listen to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, be it on the Horn, podcast providers like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, and a few others. But hey, how you doing? It's, Tuesday night, ready for another edition. Unlike last week, this week I will have not one but two interviews in the can, ready for the radio broadcast. I had a chance to talk to Booker T and Charmel earlier today. Reality of Wrestling, their promotion and wrestling school, has partnered with a movement called Be Woke Vote. And it's a movement to get young people out to vote, get them to register to vote. And so we talked about that. They've got an event this Saturday, one of their drive-in events. Ruthless Ryan Davidson will defend his ROW championship at that event, and so we'll tell you about that on the radio show. It is this Saturday in Texas City. So that is in the can for tomorrow night. Also, someone that we haven't had in a while, but it was great to reconnect with him. The Spanish God, a member of the Inner Circle, AEW's own Sammy Guevara. And so I had a great chat with him. He chided me because I forgot to mention his YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to Sammy Guevara's YouTube channel, as well as go to his website. And I've got to look it up, but just search Sammy Guevara. You'll find the website. And that's where he sells his merch and T-shirts and such. So, but check that out. And so that interview will also be on the radio show tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Central on the Horn. So tonight is going to be pretty much just a podcast-only segment. Justin is on his way, I think. I've actually set up. I had an extra TV that I had at our Boy Scout camp that we use during events, during weekends. And so since we are not out there very much, I was out there Saturday, but we're not out there very much, so I brought it home. I now have it set up so we can watch Lakers Heat tonight. So, we'll see that as we're going. Interesting stuff this week. NXT TakeOver 31 happened. Good show, as you would expect from NXT. They've got the new Capitol Wrestling Center. Basically, they've redone the space where they were doing Raw and SmackDown at the Performance Center. They've basically redone it, and now it is the Capitol Wrestling Center. Of course, a throwback to the original company, the Capitol Wrestling Corporation, that Jess McMahon founded back in the 50s and then handed down to Vince Sr. and then, of course, Vince Jr., where they would promote wrestling throughout the Northeast. So that is a nice little homage. I'll let you know now, no titles changed hands. A couple of interesting developments, and we'll talk about it, but really not a whole lot. We've got to talk about Raw from last night, and yes, you may have seen on Twitter, I do have an opinion about Mustafa Ali being revealed as the leader of the Retribution Kids. And as mentioned, it's not what everybody else is saying. So you'll hear that later. And a few other things, a couple other little notes, a few nuggets. I didn't write down anything from SmackDown, but I do want to mention about Alexa Bliss once and for all finally kind of, I guess, making her relationship with The Fiend Facebook official. Is that a good way of saying it? You know my thoughts on the Fiend. It's not my cup of tea, but oh well. But apparently, Alexa Bliss is now his. I don't know what you call it. I don't know if it's his girl, his sister Abigail, his muse, his whatever. Anyway, and of course now we're going to get Kevin Owens versus the Fiend on. I think it's on Raw next week, or no, excuse me, on SmackDown Friday night as they start the draft. So, which reminds me, I'm not going to jinx it, so I'm not going to say who it is. But I have an interview scheduled on Friday. And if it comes off, it'll be a pretty big interview. And, of course, we'll save it for next week's show. But I'm not going to jinx it because I don't, it's one I absolutely did not expect to get. But, hey, get the opportunity, we're going to take it. So we'll see. What else? We've got some wrestling events this weekend. Got 4 on the docket, including AAPW here in Austin. So that'll be fun. Let you know about that. Got some news from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Of course, we will let you know the football lineup this weekend, including the Red River Rivalry, Texas OU. It's here. It snuck up on me. I mean, quite frankly, it snuck up on us because of the way that the season started, the way it's been delayed. Usually by now we are into week 5, week 6, depending on who it is. But no, instead it's it's like the second game, or no, excuse me, third game or fourth game, something like that. So, it's a little odd. Not to mention, a lot of trepidation on both sides because Oklahoma lost to Iowa State, Texas lost to TCU. So, neither team coming off their best looks from last weekend. So, we'll see what happens with that. But like I said, not a whole lot. This week, 30 years, Chris Jericho. 30 years Chris Jericho's been in wrestling. AEW celebrating that tomorrow night, and that's part of the reason why I talked to Sammy Guevara to get his thoughts on that, as well as some other stuff. We reminisce a little bit about his days at Inspire, and I put forward the theory that I saw when the rivalry with him and Matt Hardy started, and it had nothing to do with AEW. In fact, it happened long before AEW was even an idea. So you'll hear that. So anyway, as we wait on Justin Simmons, he asked that we do it early, and so I said, sure, let's do it early because means I get done early, and that means I get to relax. So, let's see what else. I will talk a little football. It looks like Cowboys have cut 2 players. Who are they? I don't know. Let's see if I can find it. This is according to NFL.com. Let's see. Who did they cut as it comes up? Tampa Bay. Kind of scroll. Joe Looney. We heard about this earlier. Joe Looney suffered sprained MCL. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. Lyle Collins is going to have hip surgery, so he's likely done for the season. They've also released Brandon Carr and Alex Light. They did sign offensive tackle Greg Sennett to the active roster from the Browns practice roster and added offensive tackle William Sweet to their own practice squad. Yeah, that offensive line, boy, they is being held together by bubblegum and paper clips. So, there's my friend Guillermo on a basketball court. Looks like he is at, well, I don't know where he is. Looks like somewhere in Miami, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. But, oh, he's hanging out with Shaq. Of course he's hanging out with Shaq. Good Lord, look at his name was Guillermo and Shaquille O'Neal walking away from the camera, and you realize not only how tall Shaq is, but how short Guillermo is. Guillermo from Jimmy Kimmel Live. Guillermo is a short man. I got to meet him in Minneapolis, Super Bowl 52, and I actually did a short Facebook Live video with him when we were there for media night. So apparently he's chatting with Mr. O'Neal. What else is going on? Let's see. We will pay tribute if you have not heard. Man, this year, 2020, continues to just be brutal, as it is now taken from us one of the most iconic rock guitarists ever, Eddie Van Halen. Of course, lead guitarist for Van Halen. Every kid that ever thought about picking up a guitar, especially if it was in the 80s or 90s, they wanted to because of Eddie Van Halen, because of his mastery of that instrument, and just the riffs that he could cut, as Justin the Smash Simmons bolts through with a, what is that? Oh, Mario mask. How cool. Mario and Luigi. So you got Mario on one side, Luigi on another.
It's the Mario Brothers. It's not just Mario.
Right. So, how are you, man?
Dude, come on, man. Eddie?
I know. I was just talking about it. I mean, I just said every kid that ever thought about picking up a guitar, especially in the 80s and 90s, wanted to because of Eddie Van Halen. I mean, it's like we just can't win for losing this year. Losing everybody.
Yeah, that one, I mean, it was expected because he had cancer.
Right.
But,
65 years old. He had throat
cancer. That's young, man. That's really young.
Still young.
I mean, I got family that's older than that.
As do I. And, man.
And it's not like he couldn't play. He just couldn't talk, essentially.
He just couldn't talk, couldn't sing. But, yeah, he's still, even in his 60s, still one of the best guitarists ever. Exactly.
I'm just like, wow, I mean, don't get me wrong, Wolfgang, his son, is one of those prodigies types, but I'm not sure if it's on the level of his.
He'll develop. He'll have to develop.
But it's never going to be the same because.
Oh, of course not.
Because Eddie was groundbreaking. Because before that, there was. I guess you had a few guys that can make that thing talk, like Hendrix and stuff.
Yeah,
it was just a different style.
Right. It was totally different style. Van Halen had its own sound, whether it was with David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar or who was the guy that came after Hagar or whatever. But
Sharon.
But still, that sound, especially 1984, that was their breakthrough. That was the one that everybody had. And Jump. Their only number one single.
Well,
so I mean, you took your entrance music, Panama.
Yeah, exactly. It comes from '84. So I was like, that's why like the Van Halen love goes deep with me. It's like, oh, it's super meta. I was like, I like it on a personal level, where it's just like, I mean, I wasn't around to go to the concerts.
Yeah.
I had to hear about the MTV giveaways, the party event Van Halen. I mean, I could only imagine how crazy that really had to have been there.
Yeah, you watch some of those videos, so and you just breaks your heart. So
see, that's what I hate about your generation sometimes, that all became parents, because they had so much unsupervised fun.
Well, that's been the thing here,
and then it's like, don't do as I did, just we must do what I say. Well, and it's like, no.
See, I'm of the thought that, look, you can't bubble wrap your kids. You gotta let them you gotta let them scrape their knee or do stupid stuff, because that's the only way they learn. If you protect them from everything, they're not going to know what to do if it actually happens.
That's true.
And I know the world is different than what it was 35 years ago.
But is it really? Are we just more aware of it now because of social media?
I think that's it. Yeah, because of the internet. 1985, we barely had. I'm not even sure we had internet. I didn't see America Online till the late 80s.
Well, I mean, we as the public didn't have internet, right? But internet has been around since the 80s.
But
you remember War Games?
Yeah, but as the public, like you said, I didn't have America Online till the mid 80s, till the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
So that was a whole new world that opened up. So
true, the Wild West days of the internet.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, man, no Van Halen.
That's gonna suck. All right, we got some stuff to talk about, and we got some rants. So we're gonna get going and do the podcast only segment. And I was telling them, I can't remember if I told you, but we already have in the can both Booker T and Sharmell talking about reality wrestling and Be Woke Vote.
Ooh, and Sharmell.
They're in Sharmell. It was great. Great conversation. And the Spanish God himself, Sammy Guevara.
Oh, okay. So we were able to get that rescheduled.
Got him rescheduled. Talked about, Chris Jericho and his 30 years. And reminisced a little bit about his days in Inspire and a few other memories. So
that's good.
It was good. So it was really good. So those are in the can. So we're going to do the podcast only segment because we've got NXT TakeOver to recap, and I got a rant. So, all right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling podcast only segment. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons joins me. I had to play that Eruption from Van Halen 1 because, as we were just talking about off air, 2020 taking away another icon, probably one of the most iconic rock guitarists ever in Eddie Van Halen, dead at the age of 65.
Yeah. I mean, cancer's a bitch.
It really is. It really is. It absolutely sucks. I think it might suck worse than COVID. It's horrible. Eddie had been battling throat cancer for quite a few years. He finally succumbed to it today. As I said, I mentioned before we started, mentioned on YouTube, there isn't a kid on the face of this earth that thought about picking up a guitar without being influenced by Eddie Van Halen. I would dare say, especially if you're from about your age to my age, especially 80s and 90s, for all the fun rock that we had, nobody touched Eddie. I mean, he was the king.
See, I don't have all those first-hand memories. I just have the stuff that came after their heyday.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, it just, obviously, it was like my entrance music as a performer. So it's like, I really enjoy the band and the music, and I wish I was there for the first go-around for the scene. But, in retrospective, it's just like, yeah, man. It's like,
I mean, their hit record, 1984, of course. Their only number one hit single in Panama, Jump. Panama was also on that record.
I like how you keep on saying that because it's like, oh, we just don't acknowledge the existence of Van Hagar here, apparently.
No, we do, but that was the real breakthrough.
Oh yeah,
was 1984.
Well, yeah,
and then when David Lee Roth left and Sammy Hagar took his place, then you had, what was it? 5150 and OU 812.
Yeah, but 5150 has like 6 number ones on it.
Yeah, it was just fantastic.
Which is still not my favorite though, because 1984 is where it's at.
I think.
Although I do,
it's the same. It's the same debate with Metallica. Everything before 1 was the best. Is it
Van Halen 2 that has Dance the Night Away on the backside?
I think it was Van Halen 2. Yes.
So that one. Oh, and then Diver Down.
Yeah.
I mean, if you love covers, I mean that's an awesome album to own.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think they really enjoyed making it themselves personally.
True.
From what I recall.
Yeah, but anyway, so rest in peace. Our thoughts and prayers to the family and friends and the rock community. Losing Eddie Van Halen, that's a tough one.
Yeah, man. I was like, it's still weird.
Yeah.
It's just that was so young. And especially as covering wrestling, like kind of, that's just one of those things. But you forget, like with rock stars, it's like usually it's because of years and years of substance abuse and such. But this was just, I think he said that he used to use a metal pick when he would play. He would hold it in between his teeth, and that maybe that was what.
It's possible.
That and smoking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm sure there was some smoking involved. NXT TakeOver 31 was this past Sunday. Again, as we expect from NXT, a really good show. Interesting.
Was it just really good? Like on the excitement, before you even start breaking down the card, overall, and the excitement level for you, if you had to go through 1 through 5, where would you put this show for you?
Oh, is 5 the highest?
5 being the highest.
Oh, I would say maybe a 4.2.
Yeah, I can see that. It was a really well done show.
It was solid. It wasn't. I mean, they've had more momentous shows, but it was solid top to bottom. We got to see the debut of the Capitol Wrestling Center, which is the revamped space that they were using for Raw and SmackDown at the WWE Performance Center. They revamped it. That was, it was kind of neat.
It was a nice callback to the past,
at
least name-wise.
Yes. Nice homage to the Capitol Wrestling Corporation. No titles changed hands. I really thought Isaiah Scott was going to. That one came really close.
Yeah, but man, that Santos Escobar guy is really good.
He is. Yeah.
He's like super talented. I was like, if he wasn't a cruiserweight, he'd probably be on Raw right now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Of course, the whole time I'm thinking, it's King Cuerno and Killshot.
Yeah.
From Lucha Underground.
Like I need to see a stable with Escobar, Andrade, Angel Garza. Like that should just be a stable.
That should be interesting. Well, I mean, Santos Escobar has the stable already with Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild. Excuse me.
Yeah.
DJZ. All right.
I was gonna say DJZ. That guy.
I almost said Joaquin Sanchez, and I'm going, hold it. That's our bud that used to work for Spectrum Sports.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
like, don't be throwing out anybody's shoot's name.
No. Damian Priest, still your North American champion. I was a little surprised that neither Johnny Gargano nor Candice LeRae were able to win their respective title matches.
I can't say that I am, though.
Well, and after reading some, it looks like, if you believe rumor and innuendo, they are poised to make the move to either Raw or SmackDown. So,
which would be well deserved,
right,
especially in Gargano's case, just because he's already done everything you could possibly do at NXT at that level, even before it went to the national level. But I was just saying, given the momentum of the two champion holders in Priest and Shirai, it just wouldn't have made any sense for either one of them to lose at this moment, especially with this takeover. Because I was going to say we gave it a really high rating, or at least we agree on how well the show went. But it really was like a throwaway pay-per-view, essentially.
It was. This was one of those B-level pay-per-views that we usually see, in the spirit of, was it
Great Balls of Fire?
Great Balls of, well, not even. I won't go that bad, but like Payback or what we're going to see with
Over the Edge.
Yeah, that type of thing. So interesting. Kushida showing his aggressive side against Velveteen Dream.
Well, I guess if you're like an NXT watcher and that's all you've ever seen and you haven't really watched all his other stuff,
right,
you'd be like really surprised because it's like, oh, they let him unload finally. But it's like, oh man, finally they let him do what he can do.
Well, it was kind of the same boat that Shinsuke Nakamura, what we saw when he turned heel. A lot of people never saw his work in New Japan. Same thing with Kushida.
But obviously the look, the change up of his gear, I mean, that was cool.
That was cool, yeah. Not doing the Marty McFly thing anymore.
Oh no, he definitely was.
He did? Okay. I came in late on that match.
But that's why Velveteen Dream was dressed up like
right.
Doc Brown.
He did Doc Brown. What was it? It was Wrestle Kingdom just a few years ago.
They had a Doc Brown that walked with them to the ring.
Yes. And had the DeLorean on the ramp there at Tokyo Dome. So, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly, that got bloody.
Oh, that
unintentional, but
Yeah, I mean, like you just
that
knew those
rough.
two. They weren't gonna pull their punches. Like they were just gonna go hard style.
Absolutely fantastic match. But man, there were a few times I was like, okay. Guys,
Well, at least nobody got dropped on their neck.
True. Very true.
But, I mean, the shots that they were laying into each other, did this match make Kyle O'Reilly a star? I don't think he was a top-tier star just yet because he's just overshadowed.
He's been overshadowed because he's always been the tag team, and he's been the one out of the Undisputed Era that hasn't been around a whole lot in the last few months. I hope it does because I think, again, kind of like with not seeing Kushida back in New Japan, a lot of people that did not see Kyle O'Reilly in Ring of Honor, hopefully will see that, yes, he can be a star. The battles he had with Adam Cole in Ring of Honor, those are absolutely, just absolute memorable, rivalries.
Given the ending of TakeOver, where you see Cole being brought to the ring after getting beat up, is this supposed to be that Bret Hart style spark that starts to split the divide? Like, even though he just finished battling this tough adversary, won the respect of Balor finally with the handshake at the end, feels like he validated himself as a true superstar. Here's Adam Cole getting himself in trouble some way, somehow, and now he's beat up, and now you're supposed to worry about essentially the boss of the faction, even though you just went to war and almost came away as the champion.
I don't think it's quite that deep. I think it seems, and again, just on the surface, seems like they're not quite ready to break them up just yet. But we'll see. I don't know. This whole thing with Rich Holland and Adam Cole, I don't know what that's going to entail, or is he looking to, destroy the Undisputed Era, and he's going, you cut the head off, you kill the rest of the body, that kind of thing. We'll see. The one announcement they did have, for the first time since 2000, we're going to see Halloween Havoc. They're bringing back the Halloween Havoc brand that was synonymous with WCW. It will be Wednesday, October 28th, and the host will be our friend Shotzi Blackheart. Thanks for everybody.
It's only going to work if she dresses up like Elvira.
That could be
I'm not saying that she has to go full tilt and look like Elvira. I'm just saying that she has to kind of dress up.
She's got to keep the green hair, though.
Yeah, she can keep the green hair, but I figured that would be funny. But, for nostalgia's sake, it's great to hear the name Halloween Havoc.
Right.
It's just a great they had some really great pay-per-views under that name in WCW.
Yes.
Obviously, everybody thinks back to the Rey Mysterio match during the '95 Halloween Havoc. But I want to know, like, how special it will be on NXT. Like, will it be a bigger deal than just a name? Will it have a cool-looking set? And what's going to make Halloween Havoc special besides the name? That's what I'm waiting to understand.
That's going to be the big question. I think you got to have the set. You know, kind of like what they did with in Your House. They can't just slap a sticker on it like they do with Great American Bash.
I'll give them.
They got to do some matches that would be befitting of the name Halloween Havoc. Maybe, I don't know if you do a spin the wheel, make the deal match, or some sort
of glove on a pole match.
Hey, coal miner's glove. Hey, that was a mainstay in Mid-South. I don't know what I mean. I want to see what the card looks like, and so I'll hold judgment until then.
Admittedly, they have to be. There has to be like a marquee star-making match to be befitting of the name, because otherwise, then why have the name?
Right.
And when is this takeover taking place? Is this a standalone pay-per-view for the NXT brand, like, or is it preceding a big pay-per-view?
Talking about Halloween Havoc?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's on a Wednesday night, so it's going to be
on Halloween.
Yeah, Wednesday night, October 28th.
Oh,
so they're going to do it on Wednesday night on USA, like they did with Great American Bash.
Yeah, see, I'm not even really in that.
So
that doesn't do it for me. I have to see something extraordinary for them to use this as the television title.
That is kind of disappointing. So
it's kind of like when they brought back Starrcade, but then they only had it a house show.
Yeah, that I was never happy about that.
It's like, if you got the Starrcade name, you should just make that like the fourth big pay-per-view and replace Survivor Series, since it doesn't make that much of a.
Couldn't agree more. Plus, you get rid of that stupid. The one time a year when Raw and SmackDown go to battle in head-to-head competition. Stop it.
Well, you don't have to worry about that this year, because they have to change the tagline with NXT.
Well, last year they just included NXT, remember?
Yeah.
Because NXT won, that started the whole Seth Rollins becoming the Monday Night Messiah thing.
Yeah.
So.
But you know what's going to be really funny when it comes to that this coming time? It's going to be... I would like to see the people from Main Event that wrestle on Main Event, and they can become the Main Event Mafia.
Sure. I'm not sure TNA or Impact would let them use that name, but okay, sure.
Let them use the footage.
All right, so let's talk what we've seen on SmackDown and Raw. SmackDown. So Alexa Bliss and Fiend became Facebook official. Is that what we're summing that up as?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Like, what do you mean by Facebook official?
Well, I mean, it looks like Alexa Bliss has gone full on brainwash Fiend, follower.
Oh, I thought you were saying
after the attack. I'm using Facebook official as a snarky little joke, because they joined hand in hand, and Alexa looks in the camera, and then fade to black.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm not sure they're like in love per se, but she definitely brainwashed.
Oh, she's out there.
But that's great,
and
though.
Now we're gonna see Kevin Owens versus the Fiend, which I think should be a fantastic match. It'll be a fun match, and I'm saying this again. You know my feelings about the Fiend. It's not my cup of tea. But I hope this doesn't mean we're going to turn Kevin Owens heel again.
Oh, that's exactly what this means. It's going to be going to be a face Fiend. They're going to turn him face.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they will.
No, you can't see, this is again, and I know it's not wrestling, it's a TV show about wrestling, but still. No, the Fiend is a heel. The Fiend jumped Kevin Owens in the dark and put him down. That's a heel. Kevin Owens is babyface right now.
Yeah, but once he turns, that means he has to turn in the match. So he's going
to. No, he doesn't. No, that's not the way this has worked.
So far,
haven't you seen it? The Fiend, you wrestle the Fiend, and then whatever happens the weeks following it, that's when you start the slow turn. I'm hoping that's not what we're going to see with Kevin Owens, because I like babyface Kevin Owens. I mean, he can still be a badass, but again, it's the same thing I've been saying for weeks. WWE hates babyfaces.
Because even as a babyface, Kevin Owens still does heelish things.
But he does it in the name of helping his friends.
I suppose. I mean,
see, that's,
you can make the art. It's just like,
look, you went through training. You know just as well as I do. There are certain things that baby faces do. Yes, there are things that can go babyface can do that are kind of heelish, but there are certain things that heels do that baby faces don't do.
Yeah, but he does it on a consistent basis. It's not like he just like, oh, he finally decides to break the rules this one time during a match.
But no, he does it on he teams up with baby faces. He's part of the baby faces.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that he's a baby face. He's always been like a tweener. He's always a tweener. Even when he's a heel, he's still like a tweener.
He leans baby face. He leans baby. Look, he leans baby face. That's it's as simple as that.
I think it has to be viewed through the dichotomy of how you're going to view like your shades of gray.
No.
Because there's no.
I'm tired of the shades of gray. I really am.
But then we're
going to get to this in a bit because, like I said, I got a rant.
But how are you supposed to enjoy wrestling if you can't accept the shades of gray? Because there's shades of gray in AEW too, and there's shades of gray of ROH.
I get that. And I said that wrong, but we can't turn everybody heel. You can't have bad guy versus bad guy. Why am I watching?
Okay, so let's get into that right now then.
No, because I still got a few things I want to get to. We'll get to that here in a second. Let me go through my list. So we'll get back to that, I promise. All right, random stat. Oh, by the way, Keith Lee, Braun Strowman, did you see that?
No.
Why can't they have a real match? I feel bad for Keith and Braun. You can't have an official match, but you can do an exhibition, and then it's basically a non-finish.
Yeah,
I want to see a real match with those two.
I'm sorry, I'm just not going to waste my time watching a match with either one of those two involved right now because I already know like it's not going to mean anything until we will have a real finish.
I do want to see a legit match with a legit finish.
Yeah, who would?
Yeah, I want to see a series. That's one of the few I would love to see a series.
You want like
or a program?
You want like a 7-match series?
No,
best of 7.
Like just a program. I just want to see two bulls fighting it out in the ring.
But who's
two hosses?
Who's the bad guy there?
Well, allegedly right now, Strowman. Because remember, Fiend, again, fought the Fiend. He turned heel, turned his back on Alexa, turned his back on everybody else, started beating up the baby faces, started growling at everybody.
Yeah, but...
Yes, there are different... I will see this. There are different degrees of face and heel. There are. But it's still face or heel.
I suppose.
You still have to have that. Because otherwise, who do I root for and why do I root for them?
I mean, that's half of the questions that
You're not presenting it as a real sport. You're not even presenting it as a fake sport.
No, it's a show about it's a show about a professional wrestling company doing what they think is professional wrestling.
Okay, but again, look, every good show, drama, whatever, you've got a good guy and you've got a bad guy. Right? Who do I root for? We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Get back to that. I know we've talked about this with the whole, they may be down some people because of COVID, and I get that. But come on. So you've got both of your top title matches from the Clash of Champions, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to redo them, except this time Hell in a Cell.
Yep. And we're going to watch it.
Of course we're going to watch it because we cover it. And other people will watch it because it's WWE and they don't know better.
No, but we would have watched it anyways.
But still.
I might not have paid for it, but I would have definitely watched it.
Maybe.
And this heard about it.
And this is kind of where, this kind of goes into this is one of the problems with WWE right now. A lot of repetition. Here's the random stat I heard today. Since the middle of June, Apollo Crews has wrestled the 4 members of the Hurt Business 15 times. He hasn't wrestled a single other person. It's either been Bobby, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, or Cedric. And Cedric's only once.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
So in 6 months, you can't get 5 months, you can't give him another opponent?
You would like to, but hey, it's a long-term program. This is long-term.
This isn't a long-term program. Come on.
Wow, they've been doing it for 6 months. How is it this not long-term?
Okay, then,
and the storyline has seemed to have continued to go towards an arc here recently.
Well,
and they are a part of it.
Because they keep beating him up.
It's still a part of it. Just like you just said.
How's that a program if it's one-sided?
Like you just said, if there has to be a bad guy and there has to be a good guy, there has to be a winner, and there has to be a loser.
And that's fine. That's fine. I totally agree. The problem is Apollo Crews hasn't won. He never wins.
There has to be a loser.
So the bad guy is always supposed to win, in other words. That's what you're saying.
It just happens to be the bad guy in this case, but somebody has to take a W. Somebody has to take an L. And we just saw on this past Monday night that the bad guys, apparently in this case, the Hurt Business, took an L because of the other bad guys. And this is great storytelling.
Okay. So okay, fine. You've been jumping the bit, so I'm gonna get in my rant. All right. So we saw Mustafa Ali versus MVP. Match is going along. Ali's getting best MVP. All of a sudden, lights flicker, and here comes the Retribution kids. And Hurt Business circles the wagons, and MVP's going, Ali, come on, help us out. Ali gets back there. He's standing there. He's going to stand his ground. And you see T-Bag and whoever out on the ramp. Ali rolls out. He's going to confront him. And he turns around, says, go get him. And apparently Ali is now the leader of Retribution.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's my problem. I got a bunch of problems. By the way, and I'm on credit Nick Hausman, our good friend from Wrestling Inc., because I called him today just to make sure that I wasn't the only one that was seeing this, and that's coming later. So here, first of all, so you're going to take Mustafa Ali, who was very popular with the fans, very popular as a baby face, had a great organic backstory, grew up Muslim, Chicago PD, light out of the darkness, all that good stuff. And now you've put him in a heel group.
Yes.
Why?
Because he was on main event with that gimmick.
Why couldn't he have been on Raw? Why couldn't he have been on SmackDown?
Because it wasn't interesting, Stu.
Why not?
That's
not what I saw.
You tell me why it's interesting.
The social media stuff I saw, people were very interested in Ali. They wanted to see him get a chance.
Well, everybody wanted to see him get a chance, and this is that chance. Like all right, fine. I don't understand.
Fine. Again, you just said it. Hurt Business, bad guys. Retribution, bad guys. Why do I care? Who do I root for?
That's the best part about this whole storyline, though, Stu, is that now it's left in the eyes of the viewer.
Wrong. No. Come on. You know as well as I do. You were trained by George De La Isla, one of the masters.
Yeah.
You were trained. You and I hear all those stories from all those legends. Pro wrestling, in its core, has to be, it boils down, it should be good versus evil. You got to have that rivalry. Otherwise, it's like me watching Texas A&M versus Oklahoma. I just want them to beat each other up. Sorry.
Yeah.
I get tongue-tied. I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
So why should I care who wins between Retribution and Hurt Business?
Because there's going to be fallout for Mustafa Ali if there's an outcome that comes out in his favor. And that might change the whole access of what the Hurt Business actually is.
Which is?
They might
Take me down this road. Tell me.
Like, what do you like?
So what do you see? What do you see Retribution, the Retribution kids being led by Mustafa Ali against Hurt Business. How do you see this playing out?
Oh, yeah. No, this is brilliant because it's left in the eyes of the beholder, just like everything should be. It's like you get to make your own assessment about which team you want to root for, given the characteristics on which they display. In other words, it's not so cut and dry. It's not so good versus evil. It's like you just have to pick the one that's less bad than the other. And there's a lot of instances in everyday life where you do have to make that type of decision, right? Like it's just shades of gray. There's like one decision that might affect you a little bit better than the other decision, but neither one of them is like the totally perfect decision, right?
So basically what you're saying is professional wrestling should reflect life. It's no longer escapism. It's no longer escape TV. I'm not watching it to get my mind off of what I see in this world and just enjoy 2 to 3 hours of entertainment. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I kind of feel like in some cases, because it's like it's just.
Then I might as well cancel this program now. I don't want my wrestling like that.
Yeah, but that's
we see enough. We see enough, and this is going to come to my last point. Here's the problem. Here's the big problem I have. Really big problem. You've got Retribution kids, an Antifa-like stable, no matter what WWE says, being led by a Muslim Chicago cop, taking on a stable of 4 African-American men. Tell me how that looks good.
Oh, I didn't say that part looked good. But what I am saying is that they're putting Mustafa Ali front and center and giving him that opportunity that people have wanted him. He's on Monday Night Raw. He's in a major program. He is going against their big stable on Raw. It's not.
You are assuming that he can save the Retribution gimmick.
He's going to get thrown into this to try, and this is going to be his chance. And if he can, then he's going to be like in line for that push that he deserved to have had before he had the concussion. Timing's everything.
Sure. Okay. We're going to have to agree to disagree.
It's just
I couldn't disagree more.
It's just like New Day.
I could.
They were going to fumble the ball with New Day. They had a horrible gimmick when they first started out, and then all of a sudden they flipped the switch, and we're supposed to forget about that part.
Hold on. Who flipped the switch?
They flipped the switch.
Who's they? Who is they?
The company.
Wrong. New Day did that. Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, Big E Langston did that, not the company. They did it, forcing the company to do it.
Exactly. The company ultimately has the say.
So you're telling me Mustafa Ali is going to find a way to flip the switch on Retribution?
They're putting him into a position to allow him to try to find that footing.
You've got a whole lot more faith. Next time Vince sends you a paycheck, let me see it. I want to see his.
I'll let you know, man. But I'm just telling you.
Because you've got a whole lot more faith in WWE than I do.
No, I'm just calling it how it is. I mean, I read everything on social media, too. I go through Twitter. Everybody always complains they want to try something new. They're tired of seeing the same old thing. Well, we're getting. And they wanted to see, like, long-term storylines for even the people in the mid-card. Well, unfortunately, sometimes you get what you ask for, but not in the way that you intend. But you're getting what you asked for. Not just you, but those people that are out there. Because it's like, okay, so now you have the Hurt Business going against these 3 baby faces. And I'm sorry, Ricochet
you mean, Apollo and
right.
Ricochet.
So they're going through against these three baby faces.
Right.
Ali was kind of one of those baby faces. Now he's with Retribution. And it's like, okay, so Retribution, are they bad?
Yeah, because you got a gang of 15 or 20 beating up a gang of 4. Last time I checked, that's a heel tactic. Pro Wrestling 101 says that's how you get over his heels. You gang up on the good guys. Except the Hurt Business aren't good guys. Don't tell me that's not true. I've been watching wrestling for 4 decades. That's the way it always happens.
It depends on how they explain them, though, man.
Wrong.
It's like, I understand what you're saying. Like, okay, so they made all these attacks and such, but it's like, depending on the purpose that they'll use to align Ali with it, it could be justified. It really just depends, and then it will be up to you to make that decision.
How do you justify it?
I don't know, Stu. It might be justified in their actions depending on what they're asking for and what they're trying to achieve.
So you're saying the ends justify the means?
It could. Because
that's a heel tactic. That's how heels do it.
But if the Hurt Business are heels and they're the ones that are actually extorting Raw, then their job would be justified.
The Hurt Business are heels. Retribution are heels.
Yeah.
They want to destroy WWE.
Yeah, Stu.
Tell me how that's a babyface.
Yeah, Stu.
Tell me how I'm supposed to root for that.
Stu, because remember, the Hurt Business were like, yo, we'll go take care of Retribution. They put themselves into that situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
As heels.
Most of the time when people project them, like, they're like when they say bad things or they do bad things, they're just projecting their insecurities, or they're actually the ones that are actually the people that are committing.
Okay, all right,
but they're the people that are committing the crime that they're committing. So I'm saying that like
stop.
It could be the Hurt Business.
So you're telling me that MVP and Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are projecting insecurities?
No.
By their again,
no.
We're taking the long way around the river to get a drink of water here.
No, I'm not trying to change your mind because you already had your mind made up. I'm just telling you why this makes sense. Because they are trying.
And I disagree. I don't think it makes sense at all.
The hacker gimmick, it's all tied up.
They haven't tied that to the gimmick yet.
But you are free to make those assumptions.
And even if they do, that makes it better?
Yeah, because it actually feels like long-term storyline. Like I can tell that.
Okay, that's okay. I'll give you that. Okay, there's one quality that it might have: long-term storyline. How do you save the rest of it? It's still a bad gimmick. Retribution is still a joke gimmick.
I understand that, but with Ali out in front, eventually we could probably unmask these dudes and give them their real names back, and then we can kind of just settle into a good feud between them and the Hurt Business.
Like I said, you got a whole lot more faith than I do. You really do. Because I don't, even with Ali out front, I still don't see how this gets saved. I still don't see how people don't make fun of it.
Oh, people are going to make fun of it. Don't get me wrong. But
I believe that Ali, they didn't need to put Ali in this position to make him a star. He is a star. They just had to find a different position. Look, I feel bad for Donovan Dijak and Brendan Williams and the rest of the gang. I hate that they get saddled with this.
Oh yeah, because
I think they could. I think as themselves, they could be good characters. But no, you get saddled with this stupid Antifa-like gimmick.
I mean,
they're trying to destroy WWE, but they can only do it on Raw because they're not Raw, they're not SmackDown.
Well, they don't want to come back later on in the week, It's just gas and trying to, be conscientious of the economy.
And mom's got to get the Hot Pockets and the juice boxes ready.
Well,
right?
They got to go to Sam's at least once a week.
Well,
it just happens to be that night,
That's true.
They can't just change it around just.
And see that, and that's and again, I'm gonna still harp on that. When the NWO debuted,
mm-hmm.
They ransacked everybody. They didn't care.
Well, that was the NWO. Apparently, Retribution has their priorities.
Okay,
They're poorly planned by priorities, but they're priorities nonetheless, bro.
Yeah, and okay, something you said. What was it last week? You clung to this perception that Raw is still the A show.
It is.
Okay, but SmackDown's on the bigger network.
It is. Raw is always going to be the A show because that's like the original creation. That's Vince's baby.
But if I'm and again, this is where I do not have the faith in WWE writing that you do. You've got this rebellious group that are trying to tear down WWE, but they're only doing it on Raw. SmackDown gets seen by more people,
mm-hmm.
is on a bigger network.
I don't think,
but yet you're still Raw.
I don't think they can get away with what they're trying to do on the USA Network on Fox.
Why not?
Like you mentioned before,
Fox had what was the cop show name? Cops.
You're like Cops, and
Fox had Simpsons, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers.
I think it's just different now, though, man. Bob's Burgers is nowhere near as like. And
I love Bob's Burgers.
I do too, but it's not like on the edge of Raw. It definitely has some.
Raw hasn't been edgy in 20 years.
I don't know about 20 years, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's been some questionable stuff still.
Questionable as in quality, sure, including this past week. But edgy? No. Not even close.
Like, as long as they have more...
I hate to do this, but what about the Attitude Era? It's never going to get that edgy.
Well, I mean, society would
and some of that would fly on Fox easily. It has.
Well, I mean, it had before, but I mean, everybody's senses have kind of changed over time.
And again, that's where I go with the whole what we saw Monday night. I hate to say this, and again, if a 52-year-old white guy who grew up in Northeast Texas can see it, I think others can see it. And I'll go ahead and say it. Antifa versus Black Lives Matter. That's what it looked like to me.
Dang, I mean, I can see.
And think about who Vince pals with.
I know. I can totally understand that.
I don't do politics. I hate politics, but you got to go there.
You know, I can see where that perspective might come up. And at the same time, though, I'm also like, well, even though it's a stable of African-American men, I mean, they're just a stable. I can see where, like, you could have those alliterations towards it.
Again,
because it's so on the nose.
And again, you had 50-20 versus 4.
Yeah.
Looked like gang warfare to me.
But that's also remnants of the Attitude Era. Gang warfare was the Attitude Era.
Okay, but we didn't have the Black Lives Matter movement in 95, 96.
No, but I mean, it's not saying.
And by the way, the one group it would have even been thought about was Nation of Domination, and they sure didn't get beat down.
Did they not go to war with like
the X? Sure.
No, with like the Boricuas and with like the gangsters.
It wasn't 15 on 4.
The Disciples of Apocalypse, and they have like
that was 2.
People.
No.
They had like
DOA? No, it was the Harris twins.
They had like 6 other people.
No, they didn't.
Then they have like a whole biker stable, like
no.
Chains and 8 Ball.
No.
And, yeah,
no.
I'm thinking they had more than just 2.
Disciples of Apocalypse was a tag team. Ron and Don Harris.
No, man.
There was no stable.
There was a biker stable. There was a Nation of Domination, and there was the Boricuas, because that was the Attitude Era.
Boricuas was a tag team.
No, man. The Las Boricuas who was a whole stable. It was Savio Vega and like 4 other guys like Al Perez and a couple of others.
Al Perez?
Yeah.
Al Perez wasn't in WWE at that time. He was semi-retired.
Al Perez has been around the business for a really long time.
Believe me, I used to watch him in World Class.
But this is just like mid-90s stuff. He would have just been like 10 years removed from his
Okay,
prime day.
4 and 5 on 4.
5 on 5, 5 on 5, 5 on 5.
Okay, that's not 15 on 4. That's not 20 on 4.
But there's not 15 members of Retribution.
Excuse me? Did you not see Raw?
I did.
It looked like 15 to me.
Yeah, but we all know there really aren't 15. There's like 5.
I saw 15 individuals in black hoods and black beating up Hurt Business.
Yeah, but those
tell me I'm wrong.
It's like the Undertaker with his druids. It's all like, yeah, he has
the druids didn't wrestle. They were there for the walkway.
Yeah, and they will like he's used them to like lift people up, or they've carried him and stuff. But like in this case, we all know that those
was part of the entrance and exit. That had nothing to do with what happened in the ring.
Yeah, but the
druids didn't attack guys.
But they're not going to be wrestlers. They're just hired goons. Like, you know, they just hired them on to help them with the attack, and they pay them their check, and they go home.
Are you smoking the same stuff that WWE Creative is?
I hope so, because that means
God, I hope so too, because that will explain this. Because you have totally lost me.
It's not. I don't think
on Monday Night Raw you had Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and until he turned his back, Ali, and who surrounded the ring.
Yeah,
that was at least 15.
I understand that.
That includes Slapdick and Teabag and the rest of the goose.
I understand that, but I'm also saying that we all know that those people aren't going to be wrestlers. Like, they're not part of the stable. They're just extras. Like, the main part of the stable is the main part of the stable.
How's that? I mean, so you're saying they're not really Retribution. They were just extras. Last I checked, they were still Retribution. No, they're not credited. They'll probably change them in and out. I'm talking about the simple optic of 15 people in black hoods and black suits beating up three because Cedric Alexander's out.
Yeah.
3 African American men. Again, tell me how that looks okay.
I'm not saying that looks okay, but if you don't see it as Antifa versus Black Lives Matter and you just see it as like this Retribution gimmick.
See, now you're using the same line I usually use. I'm the one that says, look, you're looking into this too deep. But you can't do that now. If I notice it, a whole lot more people are going to notice it.
I'm assuming.
And it's going to present problems for Vince.
I'm assuming. And like that's why I'm like, look, I'm not in love with the gimmick. I'm in love with the fact that Ali is front and center. And he's getting the chance where he's supposed to be.
That's where you and I will agree. I want Ali front and center. But I want him front and center of something that's not like this.
Yeah, but that's just it, Stu.
I know.
Like,
they have to do what they're written. They have to say what is written, no matter how bad the promo is. I get it. They work in WWE. They get paid all that money. Yada, yada, yada. I totally get that.
It's not even that. It's the people that have the talent will rise to the top. If you have the talent to get over this, if you, and you already know, you and I both already know, because it doesn't look like this gimmick is going to be able to last the course that they might intend it to, because let's admit, they really don't have a course of attention to how long they want this to go.
It's lasted too long as it is.
That he just needs to be able to use it as a slight springboard in order to get himself into the mid-tier to main event picture. And he wasn't going to do that as just a babyface alone.
All right.
Because he was just Ali. He wasn't even Mustafa Ali. They finally gave back his first name.
Yeah, they finally gave back his first name. So, like I said, it doesn't fix it. I'm sorry, it doesn't fix it, and I think it creates more problems.
But like, how about if I say this, bro? How about if I say
you're not going to change my mind?
No, but how about if I say this? Because like, I'm not trying to change your mind. And
how about if you say this? Say what? Say what? Tell me.
But I'm like, Antifa isn't real. Like, it's just like a buzzword made up. So
okay.
So like, if those people
even if it's not real,
like those people attacking them, like if they are part of Antifa, well, if Antifa isn't real, then those people aren't real. They're just like stand-ins. They're hired.
Send your comments to JustinDSimmons@gmail.com. Sure. If that's what
have him send them to my Twitter. That way we can just have the
at @TheSmashSimmons.
Yeah, there you go. I don't want this like piling up getting death threats in my email account.
But still,
just come to me in my face.
Still, I'm just saying the optics could be really bad. It could cost Vince, and I'm not just talking about viewers.
So
I think if this carries on and he continues this, I got a feeling stockholders are going to start asking some questions.
I mean, but then my question comes: what is acceptable when you have a stable of? I guess we're not the people to comment on this, but like, what's acceptable if you have a stable of African American men going against another stable that might not include any minorities whatsoever, and that's just how pro wrestling is.
As long as it's even, then it's just like and they're not dressed in black hoods like what we have seen. Then it's fine. Again, go back to DX versus the Nation. Nobody was outnumbered. Yeah. And that was just DX being goof-offs and Nation Domination being militant.
Well,
there is no.
If you go back and look at that program, what DX did was pretty racist.
Oh, it was. Oh, the blackface. Yeah, I get that.
That was pretty
I totally
racist.
Get that. That was bad.
So like there's some stuff that they did that wouldn't fly now, but at the same token, we're just at a different place.
But mimicking
as a country now,
right? But mimicking a group is one thing. Ganging up on 3 African Americans with 15, and yes, it was 15. I don't care if they're extras. Still the optics of 15 Retribution kids ganging up on 3 African American men
who are stable
looks bad.
But they've done this to everybody, not just them.
No, they haven't done it to everybody. They've been focusing on Hurt Business.
Because?
I don't know. Because they can't branch out?
Because
they can't figure out that, NWO attacked everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, it seemed like the storyline actually...
You had 2 weeks of Retribution attacking, like, a ring and chainsawing the ropes, which, okay. You had a week where they came out and messed up a match with Keith Lee and Drew.
Yeah.
And you had another week with another one, and then now we've entered this storyline with the Hurt Business because the Hurt Business told Adam Pearce they would take care of him.
Exactly. They interjected themselves into this.
Right.
So now
the way the storyline. But now you have the 15 Retribution kids beating up 3. I'm just saying. You can spin it however you want. I'm just saying the optics could look bad.
I understand what you're saying because I saw it too last night, and I'm just like, this kind of reminds me of like when they tried to tie up the Undertaker and they had everybody storm the ring. But that's because, man, I mean, there's like a lot of racial tension,
and I'm telling you,
but it's also,
now,
but like,
and like I said, I bounced this off with Nick this morning because Nick lives in Chicago. He works in Chicago. They had a lot. They had it much worse than what we had here in Austin. And again, and I felt good because I wasn't the only one that saw this.
No. I mean, it's not like I'm saying that I
didn't.
But I'm also like, I don't know I'm not sure how you're supposed to progress this storyline if you have a group that is causing havoc
again,
and they interjected themselves into the group.
Use the NWO group. Use the NWO model. I don't care if they interject themselves. Sting and Luger and everybody interjected themselves in the NWO. They still beat up everybody. Why is Retribution just focusing on Hurt Business?
Because the Hurt Business is the one that got into their business.
But they're wanting to destroy WWE.
Yeah, but they...
Why would they just destroy 3 guys? Why would they want to destroy everybody?
But Stu, that's just it. The 3 guys were like, don't worry, Adam. We'll take care of it. Again, we got this.
And Sting and Luger and everybody said, we'll take care of this against the NWO.
And that was their main program, right?
No.
That wasn't the main program?
That was one pay-per-view. That was one pay-per-view. And they by the way, they attacked everybody while they were attacking them. Remember Kevin Nash lawn darting Rey Mysterio into the production trailer?
Yeah.
Okay. Rey Mysterio had nothing to do with it. But he still got attacked.
Yeah.
Every week somebody got attacked. Everybody got attacked.
So you're
Didn't
saying
matter.
So would it
That's what I'm saying. Retribution, if I am to buy this, then A, Retribution needs to not be limited to one brand. B, they need to start attacking everybody.
Okay.
Then maybe I might buy a little into it.
But then
until then, it's a stupid gimmick.
But then how do you validate the draft if they compete on both?
What do you mean? How do I validate the draft?
Because there's a draft coming up, right?
Yes, we know.
So there's a possibity where Retribution could get drafted.
We've almost got an hour,
and they can go and they can turn over to both sides, right? You can split up T-Bar.
We don't know, and that's the thing. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
And then you can possibly have the infiltration on both sides where they try to take over Lexus style.
And then maybe that'll happen. And if that's the case, that's at least one less issue with this story. One less issue with this gimmick.
But we all know that's not going to happen.
You're right. I totally agree. They're not going to do that. They're going to stay on Raw, and the remedy for everybody else will be go to SmackDown, and the Retribution kids can't get to you. Again, it's my problem. Of the two, I would rather they bring back Raw Underground.
No.
At least that was entertaining. No. Again, they need to find a purpose for it.
Exactly. There was never going to be a purpose for it. I don't need to see it. There's never going to be a purpose.
And that's what I'm saying about Retribution versus Hurt Business. What's the purpose?
I think they can
What's the rooting purpose? Who do I root for? Or do I root? Or do I just want them to see them beat each other up?
Maybe.
Take each other out.
Maybe.
Maybe that'll do us all a favor. Just take each other out. Again, like the Aggies and the Sooners. Just take each other out.
I think it's a good opportunity for somebody to really make a name for themselves if they can come out on the other end and looking good on this. But it's just going to be really hard to pull off. But honestly, Stu, the way that this gimmick is currently written up, it's not going to stay that way. They're going to have to switch it up.
They got to figure out something.
Because
they're going to have to change it up somehow.
Because they're going to have a New Day situation on their hand where it's going to be failing, and unless something creative happens, then there's no saving it.
And I like Donovan Dijak and Brendan Williams and Shane Thorne and Mia Yim and Mercedes Martinez, but I don't know if they're as creative as Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston and Biggie Langston. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll change my mind. I don't know. But right now, doesn't change anything. It's still a silly gimmick and still a waste of airtime on Monday Night Raw in my mind. So, again, that's just me. If you disagree with me, you can at me, at Stu Myrick. So, we're going to take a quick time out. We'll come back, let you know what's happening this week in independent wrestling. Got a couple other notes, plus big football weekend coming up. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Very good. Sorry. Yeah. It's like, I know you were trying to, you're trying hard, but I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just too old. And that's what Nick and I were talking about. It was like, look, is this because I'm just older? He goes, no, it's, there's some things. And I know the babyface and heel thing have changed. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it.
Yeah, that's never coming back, man.
It's not. And it's sad because that's,
nobody likes
the beauty was in the simplicity.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
I know.
It's boring.
But that's the thing. Ali wasn't a white meat babyface. He simply had a story that you could relate to.
For a certain demographic, but like times change, so like,
hold it, for a certain demographic.
I don't think everything would have like covered for him. I think they leaned too heavy on just like him being a cop. Like that was it. It was like Big Boss Man essentially. Like,
how in the world do you compare that to Big Boss Man?
Well, I mean, Big Boss Man was a real corrections officer too.
I get that. That was a character though.
No, but he really was.
He was also Big Bubba Rogers.
Yeah.
He was also a bodyguard. He was also this. Mustafa Ali seemed like a really good guy who was very athletic, could really handle himself in the ring, and wanted to be a light out of the darkness. Tell me how that doesn't work in certain demographics. Maybe and you know what? And you just maybe realize there are those people. I totally see it. We see it all the time in wrestling. Wrestling. There are those wrestling fans that just want to be dark. Everything dark.
I mean, look at the shirts that come out.
Yeah, they're all black. I get that. And I feel sorry for them, quite frankly. I really do, because it's people like them that can't see the beauty in things. I think Mustafa Ali was an absolute star. He just needed the right platform. This is not the right platform.
Oh, no, this is not the platform that's going to get him to be the WWE champion, but this is the platform that will give him the TV time and exposure in order to get to that point.
And it's sad that it's that.
He
deserves the time just by being him. There are people on Raw right now given lots of TV time that really shouldn't be.
Well, yeah.
Like the Retribution kids, quite frankly.
I hate to say it because, I mean, they're good wrestlers, but you can just tell that Dijakovic
I'll call him Dijak. I don't care.
Isn't really like whatever they have him trying to say is just not. It's not working.
Well, and that goes back to WWE. Scripting promos. That's been one of their base problems for years.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, okay, so you're giving me this gimmick that you have not really defined, and I'm supposed to try to come up with words. No, just give me what you're going to tell me to say, and I'll try to repeat that.
Again, go old school. Few talking points. Let me come up with it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's just too much on the line now.
Again, other companies do it. I know WWE has to do it differently because they're not a pro wrestling company. They're a TV. It's a TV show about pro wrestling.
Yeah,
but
makes it a little bit easier.
Even
to watch.
Lucha Underground didn't go this nutty, and they had Thunder Rosa as the leader of a serpent tribe.
Yeah, because she was a reptile essentially.
Yes, you know, they had Luchasaurus. Oh, what was the name? Vibora on Lucha Underground.
I'm not sure what it was, but yeah.
And they cut off his tail.
Yeah, and I was going to say, well,
no, they beheaded him. Yeah, on Lucha Underground.
I was going to say, well, he still thinks he's a dinosaur. So.
Yes, 65 million years old too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's okay. I mean, there's just going to be some
but
things.
But again, there's a wink to that though.
But like,
there's kind of the wink and nod.
What I guess like
maybe that's part of it.
I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything, but like my question to you is like the missing link, man. I was all like, there's just these characters from old time pro wrestling where I'm like, well, you bought that, so why is
he was a heel?
Was he always a heel?
Yes.
I don't think the missing link was always a heel.
Yes.
I think he was actually a babyface towards the end of his run, like in certain territories, honestly, because I know he came out.
Well, he did get out from under Skandar.
Yeah, he comes out. So it's like,
team up with, didn't he like?
And then he makes a tag team
with Missy Hyatt once.
Yes, yeah, and he becomes a face.
But I'm not talking about the character itself.
But I mean, like, come on, dude. It's
and
like
again,
the Undertaker.
Again, there was you can't compare the Undertaker to Retribution. I'm sorry, Undertaker. That was Justin to say that. Please don't let that influence your decision ever to come on this show. Don't ever compare Undertaker to Retribution. I know you're going to say, well, the shades of gray. Undertaker was the master. Retribution can't even get out of fourth grade.
Well, I mean, they speak at least a junior high level.
Yeah, because they spend all day in their mom's basement, eating Hot Pockets and listening to Nirvana.
Well, yeah, but that's the other thing about pro wrestling. It's all like, how do I say this? It's kind of like the music, man. It's all like, kids don't listen to Van Halen. Like there's a few that do, right? That might appreciate it, but their taste in music has changed greatly.
I know,
and that's exactly what pro wrestling is.
It's the same thing the adults said when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
now you're the adult.
Right. And I'm just saying but
you're not the only one, man.
There is still something to doing it logically. And there is so little logic with Retribution.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's good.
It should have died off at least 2 weeks ago.
It should have, but they had nothing else. If anything, at least
and that's sad. And by the way, they got people they could elevate. This whole COVID thing, I get them. They got people they could help. AEW did it. They had people out. They simply brought in others.
But that's what they kind of done. I mean, they're giving these guys a chance. They brought up 5 people, right, to fill this in, essentially, to fill in Retribution. 5 people that we know of.
They've got 5 that are the main characters.
Yeah.
But then they dress up at least 10, 15 others.
Okay, so people are getting work. Not necessarily too bad.
I get that. It's
dumb, but people are getting work.
Yeah. It's like
But
a little like putting the American Dream in polka dots.
Yeah.
Except nobody can get things over like the American Dream did.
Exactly. He can make it work. It's like,
yes.
I think you mean to put this is more like putting Terry Taylor into the
Red Rooster.
Yeah.
Yes. That's exactly what it is.
And expecting him to get that over.
Terry Taylor was an incredibly talented wrestler.
But that's what they always say, though. But they're like, yo, if he was so talented, he would have been able to get this over. He just didn't put his heart into it. And that's the thing with this whole Retribution gimmick. Is like, look,
because
I know
it's hard to take seriously.
Exactly, and I know it sucks.
So then, whose fault is it? Is it the wrestler?
It's always the writer's fault. But there will be a blame on the wrestler if they don't try to make it work. Because the Goldust thing could have flopped.
I'll go higher than the wrestler. It's Vince's fault. Because remember, Vince has to sign off on everything.
Yeah, definitely. But but you go back and you look at some of the gimmicks.
Yeah.
From wrestling's past.
You just mentioned Goldust.
Yeah.
You just mentioned him. Again, nobody gets stuff over like that anymore. Retribution isn't going to turn Goldust into a magic gimmick.
Yeah, on paper, I'm just saying, if you go on paper without ever seeing the character, like it never existed, like we're sitting in Vince's office and I'm Vince and you're the wrestler. I'm like, okay, so I want a character that is androgynous, that might make other characters feel uncomfortable. And I need you to portray somebody very eccentric.
Yeah.
And I need you to make this work.
And
it doesn't sound like it's going to work.
I didn't think it would when it first happened.
And then you go back to somebody like The Undertaker, and Vince has you in your office. It's like, look, I want you to be a supernatural dead man, and I want you to work super slow and not feel pain because you're impervious to pain.
Yep.
And people will buy that because, it's wrestling. So
well,
he was just
happy because he wasn't going to be the Eggman.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. So
but you start listing those type of characteristics on paper without seeing it, and you're like, oh man, this is silly.
I totally get it.
But they're just really talented wrestlers and workers.
Yes,
so they got it to work.
You're right.
I'm not sure. Like, the thing is like
that ain't happening with Retribution.
But that's what I was trying to say.
I have all the respect in the world for Donovan and those guys. That ain't happening.
But that's what I was trying to say, Stu. I was like, I think Goldust could have gotten over as another character, even if he wasn't given Goldust. And I think The Undertaker would have gotten over in WWF if he wasn't given that character.
Well, and also let's not forget, this was a little bit of a jab at Dusty.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of a jab at Dusty.
But Donovan Dijak, I wasn't sure if he was going to get over on his own, just because you already have Keith Lee up there, and they're not going to revisit the rivalry. So, and he's had the injuries, right? So it's like, where is he supposed to fit into this? Like, is he like, we're in that weird period where
he just stays in NXT. Not such a bad thing. We've heard that wrestlers don't want to go to Raw or SmackDown. They want to stay in NXT.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Allegedly, Ciampa, that's Tommaso Ciampa. Allegedly, that's been Johnny Gargano. Although, like I said, the rumors are that they may be sending him to Raw or SmackDown.
Well,
look at what they're doing with Keith Lee now.
Well, yeah, that's what happens.
They've got an uber talented super heavyweight, and all he's doing is non-finishes.
Yep.
It's like, really? It's simple. Even I can figure this out.
I don't know if you could have made him champion as soon as he jumped on board.
I would. Well, I'm biased, but
that might have been.
I definitely would have at least started setting him up.
I mean, it looks like that's where they were headed, but you know how quickly Vince can change his mind. So it's like maybe he was on board.
And again, it's that's part of the problem.
I'm not saying that he's not a talented performer, because obviously he is, but the pressure's different. It's way different.
Yeah, but again, that has nothing to do with the way you're booked.
Yeah, but he also has to be able to present himself. It's got to be difficult to go in.
You change the outfit, you change the music because you don't want to pay CFOS. You're not having him do the stuff that made him the superstar that he is.
Exactly.
Again, say the same thing about Mustafa Ali. He's got the talent, but you're not letting him be that talent. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to give Mustafa Ali the chance, but injury just kind of upended that.
No. This isn't. I'm not talking about his injury. I'm talking about just the way they redo everybody to fit the WWE mold.
Oh, well, I mean, they have to make it theirs.
And that's why they haven't had a new breakout star since Cena.
You're never going to see another one like that.
And that's going to be a problem.
I think they've already proven that they don't want that. Like, they just want.
And that's why there will always be criticism. Just saying. It's just,
But the guy.
They're so afraid of having somebody bolt. They don't want anybody being big. And that's why they, that's why they have these subpar storylines, and, eventually it's kind of like, okay, I'm bored.
Well, but I'm bored with wrestling in general most of the time anyways, until like WrestleMania season for the most part. That's just usually how it goes.
I'm not. I'm a big fan of the Ring of Honor Pure Tournament. I think what they're doing is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean, like everybody. There's other people doing some good work out there. But I'm saying with WWE, I'm usually bored during this period.
You're bored with WWE. That's what I'm saying. WWE has been kind of boring. There have been some bright spots. I'll give it that. I'm slightly interested in Roman Reigns.
I would be.
Again, I never like. I'm the one guy that doesn't celebrate every heel turn because again, you don't have to turn everybody heel. But then again, I guess, and you know what? And here's the thing, because there are people that will say, well, there is no such thing as baby faces and heels anymore.
Yeah.
And I will get you 10 people that will correct you on that. And he's one of them.
I was going to say, how many of those 10 people were born after 1995?
He's one of them. Man, that's about to open up a wrestling school.
He was born well before 1995.
Yes.
I was saying after 1995.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and that's what I'm saying. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad.
No, I totally agree, but it's just like the music thing. It's like, yeah, the Beatles are great, but you show that to a teenager nowadays, they'd probably be like, it's okay. I have no interest in listening to the whole album of that. Just because it was good then doesn't mean that it's always great.
Taste. I get that. But simple and beautiful storytelling, that usually never goes out of style. And if it does, if all you want to see are flips and bad people doing bad things, then again, maybe I need to rethink my loyalty to pro wrestling.
I mean, but that's what pro wrestling is. There's a place for everybody, apparently. Like, if you like that style of wrestling, there is that style of wrestling. If you want more hard-hitting, more realistic, there is that style of wrestling. If you want, like, a more comedic style of wrestling, like in Chikara, there was that.
Well, no, Chikara.
Well, I guess there was. That's why I said there was that. There was.
But we've got Orange Cassidy and Joey Janela and those guys that can pull it off. Even Colt Cabana to a small degree, even stuff he's doing with Dark Order.
Yeah, I mean, there's still.
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that moment. And see, that's what I love, because it's logical. Bring you along until that moment when Colt Cabana realizes, oh crap, I screwed up by joining the Dark Order. It's kind of like Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
When Daniel Bryan joined the Wyatt family, and everybody, it was like, oh no. And then 3 months later, Daniel Bryan stands up against Wyatt. That's one of the best moments ever on Raw.
Yeah, but again, it also felt like they kind of just fell ass backwards into it.
It was a little quick. I maybe they could have stretched it out a little longer.
And that's like the thing where it's like,
but that reaction, reaction, you can't put a price on that.
But you wouldn't. But you only get that reaction for Daniel Bryan because he's Daniel Bryan. I don't think you can just get that out of anybody. People really love Daniel Bryan.
Right, I get that. That was something else. This was something else that Nick and I were talking about. And this might be more of a Vince problem, issue. Vince seems to take his, how do we say, more socially progressive wrestlers and radicalize them, make them heels.
Yeah.
He did it with Sami Zayn. Did it with Daniel Bryan. Now he's doing it with Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, but I think, honestly,
I wonder what Vince sees.
I think Vince clearly sees his fan base, and he knows how his fan base thinks.
Okay, sure. Again, I don't think so. I think it's more of a reflection on Vince. But
yeah, but I mean,
because Vince thinks that's what will get over.
I get that. And if you have made the amount of money that Vince McMahon has made, and despite the trials, like literal trials and tribulations, to still be worth so much money, like, you're gonna have those genetic grapefruits that he keeps on talking about back in the day, because
so I can do what I want, and it's gonna get over. And I guess what I'm saying is,
like, how are you not supposed to be?
It seems to reflect his beliefs.
It probably does, but at the same time, how can you not be arrogant when everything you have done to this point has quote unquote worked? Because
sounds like somebody else we know occupies the White House.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm not trying to make it political.
I'm trying not to here. I hate going down that road. I don't talk about it. I work in state government. I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, because I already know that half of the viewers are going to hate what I have to say because of the way I think, and that's fine. And I already know that I probably don't agree with half of what you think either, but we might agree on something.
And again, that falls to the whole. I want to watch wrestling to escape what I see everywhere else.
But he's always used.
And I'm not saying, and that doesn't make it right.
I didn't say it wasn't wrong.
You say, but he's always done that. I hated it when he did it then too.
Yeah, the Desert Storm thing was too on the nose. Obviously, the 9/11 the bombing thing, that was just bad timing because that just
turning Sergeant Slaughter heel, making him align with Sheik Adnan LKC.
Yeah,
I forget what they called him in WWE, but that's what they called him in AWA. Right around the time of the Gulf War.
Yeah. No, I know you're thinking of the not Colonel Mustafa because that was just the Iron Sheik. But who is the other guy? What do they call him?
Sheik Adnan. I think it was just Sheik Adnan.
I think it was just Sheik Adnan.
Or General Adnan.
General Adnan, right? Yeah.
But it was he was Sheik Adnan LKC in the AWA.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Vern.
Yeah.
Again, I understand he does that. He's done it forever.
It's kind of like
but each time it's like
record executives. It's like they feel like, oh, I know what the right sound is, and this is the sound, and this is what we're going to push, and if they sell a whole lot, then they were right.
They're right. Yeah.
And then they know they're the person with the magic touch.
I get it.
But don't get me wrong. I was surprised that you said everything you said about that angle between the Hurt Business and Retribution, because I was like, that's obviously where my mind went first. But then I was like, okay, let's try to look past that point and let me see what else they're trying to do with this.
I see, and that's why I was saying. Usually, I'm the one that says.
That's why I was like, whoa, okay, you saw the same thing I saw.
You shouldn't look at it that deep. It's just wrestling, but understanding what we have seen today in society, and what we know of Vince, and looking at certain things, you can't help it.
Yeah, you're right. It's just not a good look. I'm just like, I don't know if they attacked a group of non-African American wrestlers, would it still have the same effect?
No.
Yeah.
Same effect as far as
Retribution.
But again, that kind of falls to the question. Well, then, okay, are we supposed to boo them?
Yeah, and it's all like, well, shoot. At the same token, Stu, it's like, I'm just saying this just to say this. Obviously, there's some people that really have these thoughts, and it's like, I'm not going to hold somebody hold something against somebody just because of the color of their skin or their ethnicity or whatever they believe. But I think he does kind of see that people are going to see Mustafa Ali and be like, oh, yeah, he's Muslim. There's a good portion of the wrestling fan base that doesn't like him just based on the fact that he's Muslim, So I'm just like, is that automatic? That's where I'm like, okay, am I automatically supposed to think this is a heel group? Because in 1980s wrestling logic, it's like foreigner, bad guy.
Right. I see what you're saying. My response would be no, because again, they have portrayed Mustafa Ali as a good guy.
And that's why.
And you mentioned the hacker. Remember, we never saw the identity of the hacker. So, yes, we all thought it might be Ali, and that's different. It's different.
But you can see where there can be a really long roundabout way where they can tie this all up and salvage is what they can salvage out of it.
I've heard every theory about that. I get that. In my mind, and again, I'm just me. In my mind, it doesn't save it. It's still okay. Fine. So what? So now you're saying he's a hacker that wants to destroy WWE. Again, it's okay. And a group that's coming in and invading and wants to destroy WWE, fine. That's a plausible storyline.
Yeah,
I get that. But there's just so many plot holes in it. It's just,
no. The plot holes. Yeah, they're gonna be a lot, and it's gonna be bad. They're just trying to fill in as they go.
And the dialogue is horrendous.
Yes, it's worse than a Batman movie.
Oh, it's worse. It's worse than a B horror movie. It's just god awful.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's just, LeBron hits it. All right, Lakers down by 2. 9 minutes left in the second quarter.
It's funny because that TV's behind. Your other TV is
Yes,
ahead.
I know.
So I'm like,
it's on a different receiver.
That's crazy.
I brought the other I brought that TV back from camp, since I'm not at camp much.
But see, I knew that was going to be an interesting conversation, just because it's like we all know it's sorry. We all know that it looks bad. I'm just saying, like, if he's really as talented as they believe he is, he will find his way. It's not going to be easy.
No,
but they are putting him in a position that they feel is beneficial, unfortunately.
Right. I'm not sure everybody else feels that way.
No, but to see him in like a main event role, that is exciting though.
That's fine. And I'm happy for him. I really am. I want him to succeed. I would have liked to see something different.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that the layers of this story are going to start peeling away, and they're going to start focusing more on Ali, and eventually like the whole retribution portion of the gimmick, just like the beginnings of the New Day, will eventually be forgotten, and they'll just start at a certain spot like they always do in pro wrestling. They'll just pick up right here, and they'll be like, okay, this was the beginning of the group, and this is how good they were after that.
Right. I get that.
Because, the revisionist storylines.
But the New Day was more of an organic transformation. That wasn't Vince all of a sudden saying, "Oh, let's make them faces." No, that was an organic.
No, but it didn't happen overnight either, because people were trashing it. You know,
I know.
So it's one of those things where it's like, this isn't high quality stuff, but they can morph it into something else possibly over time to where it would make more sense. But I could see Ali as a leader of a stable, and that's a good position to be in, because that's the Adam Cole position,
and that's fine. Leader of a stable, great. But
I'm thinking that
this one, no. I'm
thinking that Retribution will get like a makeover, possibly a new name, and they'll lose the mask.
They need to. That would be a big help.
Yeah, because I really felt like this Retribution thing really is just like a placeholder until they figured out exactly how they want to present those characters with Ali in the picture of this is the route they're going to go. And now they have that opportunity, because it's like you can take the stupid Slapjack name out and just give him his real name back.
I hope so. I really do. Again, whoever came up with this needs to just be beaten about the head and thorax.
Because
it's just bad names and bad gimmick. And
I'm not disagreeing with you at all there.
It's just bad. I hope they find a way to transform it and make it into something. But yeah, for at least in the near future, it's just going to be all right, whatever.
But there is a strong possibility, like, once they figure out how much this sucks, and it always takes them a little while, right? You'll have Ali up front, and like, if they present this right, I think this would be a way to save it. And you can tell me if you're wrong, but what they should do is they should come out. Ali's going to explain himself, why he's been doing what he's been doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he can say, like, my group doesn't have to be masked anymore. They are talented wrestlers that are tired of being held back by the system that is WWE, and then they can unmask, and then they can be given different names or different personas, and they can start to kind of walk away from the Retribution part where they're all under hoods and stuff and try to form something new. Kind of pull away.
I like what you're saying. It seems like a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, whatever they do here is going to be a jump.
They've got to find...
it needs a jump.
Yeah, there's a progression that's got to be there that, again, it's, for something like this, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look what they did with the NWO and copy that. Make it fit.
Like, I think that's what they were trying to do, and they didn't realize like they took it too far.
They forgot a lot of steps.
They made it too real. Like they touched on too sensitive of topics.
Yeah.
And they didn't add the stuff that made it cool.
They could still be Retribution and just be themselves.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, like, I hope that they notice that now that Ali is, like, you know, unmasked. So he has a face. You have a face to put with the group.
Right.
And now I think you can see the others unmask as well now that you have a face.
I would hope so too, but again, as I said, they should have just done that from the start.
But they didn't know. They had no idea what they were going to do.
And that's where I go, you're a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company and you couldn't figure this out.
Hey, man, I'm with you. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I know how it feels. You mean to tell me that you're worth much money?
How long Mike McCarthy last as head coach?
I don't know, but I didn't feel like he was the right person for the job anyways. But
there's a reason why he's been out of the league for a couple of years.
Yeah, but it's not his offense.
You know, I mean,
offense was great. Defense sucks.
Defense is god.
But the defense has always been bad, and it's not necessarily the coaching staff. Sometimes I really feel it's just the players.
Well, we know that they lost some.
Van Der Esch is not playing.
No, he's out.
You got the corpse of Sean Lee somewhere, you know, on IR. I think.
Yeah, Sean Lee stays on IR. So.
They never got a safety. Nobody wants to play with Earl Thomas apparently because the Texans said don't sign him.
Yep.
I don't care. I would prefer Earl Thomas to play for my team right now. And our defense is just atrocious. Yeah, offense looks great though, despite the fact that we don't have what's his name, Travis Frederick anymore.
Well,
they the one that retired.
They lost Looney to a sprained MCL. Who else they lost? Somebody's having hip surgery, so they're out for the season.
Jeez, man, it's gonna be a tough year to be a Cowboys fan.
Well, and you wonder, you know, this is something we were talking about on Longhorn Lowdown, it was with Jermichael Finley on the last Sunday Night Football watch party, talking about how, you know, you and I talk about when you're training to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
You callous your body to taking the bumps. Okay, preseason and training camp, that's kind of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of guys, training camp was weird, and so they didn't get as many shots to callous their body. And I think that has something to do with the rash of injuries we've been seeing here lately.
You know, Stu, maybe that's what I was like. I don't know if I have that type of capability, but maybe we can talk to Dustin. And it's like maybe that's what we should sell to these off-season NFL athletes and college athletes, so they don't have to take the hits during the practices.
What?
We can teach them how to take bumps in the wrestling ring instead. Because, I mean, it's essentially the same thing. As long as your body is rigored towards the physicality of what you're going to take, it's like, trust me, if you can take a back body drop, you can take getting hit by somebody coming at you full speed. Because it's essentially the same thing.
I get you. Yeah. So.
And maybe we'll let them wear the helmet and the pads. You know, get them real used to it.
Why not?
Can you imagine trying to take a shoulder tackle from Dustin with your helmet and pads on anyways? I'm pretty sure it still hurt. Especially when you hit that.
That's why I stay behind a microphone. So, all right, folks, we're gonna get out of here and enjoy the rest of the Lakers Heat as well as everything else. Thanks for joining us on YouTube. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you made it through my rant. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll be back next week, around the same time, back on our YouTube channel. Until then, have a great rest of your week, and happy wrestling, as Ian Riccaboni likes to say. So long, everybody.